welcome to this explainer. Today, we're diving into an ancient, frankly insurmountable educational crisis that led directly to the creation of the Panchatantra. We're going to look at this text not just as a classic piece of literature, but as a desperate, radical innovation in how we actually learn.
It's a question that has literally plagued humanity for centuries, right? How do you teach an unteachable student? It's a hugely relatable challenge that parents, mentors, and teachers are still facing today. What do you do when traditional methods completely fail and the learner just has absolutely zero interest in the material? Well, today we're going to see exactly how an ancient ruler handled this exact problem when the future of his entire kingdom was on the line. Okay, let's dive straight into our source document. We're looking at a text originating from the south of India, and it drops us right into a city called Mahilalopium. Now, the guy in charge here is a ruler named King Amar Shakti, and according to the text, the king was no slouch. He was a deeply learned man, extremely accomplished in all sorts of arts and skills. Basically, he's your ultimate high achiever. But, as we know, even the most accomplished leaders have their blind spots, and King Amar Shakti was about to hit a massive brick wall. Section 1. The King's Great Dilemma. A Father's Despair. So, despite his own brilliance and mastery of the arts, the king had a glaring problem right in his own household. He had 3 sons, Bahu Shakti, Ugra Shakti, and Ananta Shakti. And our source text uses a perfectly brutal phrase to describe them. They were complete duds. They had absolutely zero interest in studying or bettering themselves. I mean, you can imagine the psychological weight of this on a highly educated ruler, right? Realizing the total ignorance of his heirs, the king assembled his ministers. He frankly admitted that he couldn't even enjoy his own kingdom because just looking at his sons filled him with absolute dread about the future.
And this brilliantly illustrates just how deep the king's despair went. When he addressed his ministers, he really didn't hold back. He recited this verse: "Unborn, dead, and stupid sons. The first 2 are to be preferred, for they cause sorrow only once, while stupid sons are a torment to the heart till the end of life." Let that sink in for a second. It is surprisingly dark, harsh, ancient humor, for sure, but it perfectly captures the utter hopelessness he felt. The sorrow of never having sons or losing them is a single tragic event, but the daily reality of raising unmotivated, ignorant heirs who are destined to ruin your life's work, that is a never-ending torment for this king.
He kept hammering his point home to his cabinet with another incredibly powerful comparison. He asked, what is the good of a cow that neither bears a calf nor gives milk? And what is the good of a son who is neither enlightened nor devoted? Now, in an ancient society, a barren cow is just a massive drain on resources. You feed it, you house it, but it gives you nothing in return. This was the king's direct plea to his ministers. My sons are consuming the kingdom's resources without providing any future value. He begged them, please, tell me ways and means by which my sons can be enlightened. Section 2. The Limits of Tradition. Finding a Shorter Way. So here is where we hit a crucial crossroads, the stark contrast between the proposed solutions. The first minister to speak offered the traditional route. He basically told the king, Your Majesty, this takes time. He outlined this grueling path where 12 whole years are spent just mastering grammar alone, and only after that would they tackle the required sciences, economics, religion, and sexology. Basically, it's a massive, slow-moving effort before intelligence is finally awakened. But then another minister named Sumati steps up. Sumati is the pragmatist of the group. He points out that human life is transitory. Life is just too short, and these subjects are way too vast. They simply don't have decades to wait around for these dud princes to maybe eventually get it. Sumati argues that they absolutely must find a shorter way to rapidly enlighten the minds of the princes. Section 3. An Impossible Vow. Vishnu Sharma's Promise. It's Sumati's hunt for this magical shortcut that brings us to the climax of our historical fable. Sumati tells the king that he knows exactly the right man for this seemingly impossible job. He drops the name of a Brahmin called Vishnu Sharma. According to the text, Vishnu Sharma is a legendary teacher. He's an absolute expert in all the sciences and has built an incredible reputation among his countless disciples. Sumati's recommendation is crystal clear. Hand the princes over to him. He's the guy who will actually get this done. The king is thrilled, but he's also incredibly desperate. He immediately invites Vishnu Sharma to the palace. And to guarantee the outcome, the king offers an absolutely massive, jaw-dropping reward. He tells the teacher, look, if you can educate my sons quickly, I will present you with 100 tax-free villages.
Think about the immense wealth and power that represents. It's literally the equivalent of handing someone a small country just for tutoring 3 difficult teenagers.
But what makes Vishnu Sharma's response so amazing here is his age. At almost 80 years old, he looks at the king's staggering bribe and just flat out refuses to sell his wisdom out of greed. He tells the king that he has all his desires firmly under control. At this stage in his life, wealth means absolutely nothing to him. Instead of taking the money, this 80-year-old scholar lays down a shocking challenge of his own. He tells the king, "Hear my lions roar." He doesn't want the villages, but he asks the king to write down the date. He makes a vow with intense, unbreakable conviction. "If I have not educated your sons in Niti Shastras within 6 months, then I do not deserve a place in heaven. This is an all-or-nothing heaven or bus guarantee." Remember, the first minister said it would take 12 years just to learn grammar. Vishnu Sharma is guaranteeing a total education in 6 months, staking his immortal soul on it. The king and his ministers are completely astonished, but utterly relieved. The king hands his sons over, finally feeling at ease.
Section 4. The 5 Books of Wisdom. The 5 Tantras. So, what's his secret? Vishnu Sharma doesn't sit the princes down in a stuffy classroom to memorize dry grammatical rules. No way. Instead, he takes them away to his ashram. And his revolutionary educational technology? Specially composed stories. He begins to recite these stories to them, dividing his entire curriculum into 5 distinct sections, or tantras. This curriculum covered conflict amongst friends, winning of friends, crows and owls, the forfeit of profits, and action without due consideration. He used these super engaging, memorable narratives to completely bypass their resistance to traditional learning.
It's absolutely vital to understand what was actually happening here. Vishnu Sharma wasn't just entertaining them with simple bedtime fables. The text specifically states he was educating them in Niti Shastras. Niti Shastras are ancient Indian texts that encompass practical worldly wisdom, statecraft, and the core principles of human conduct. This was literally a secret masterclass in leadership, diplomacy, and survival, cleverly disguised as entertaining stories. He was teaching these dud princes how to rule an entire kingdom by telling them stories about crows, owls, and losing profits.
And the source text concludes with a powerful, enduring promise about the sheer effectiveness of this unique, story-based education. It states, "A man who has studied this Niti Shastra or listened to its precepts will never be defeated, not even by Indra, the Lord of the heavens." It claims that the practical wisdom embedded in these 5 tantras, this shorter, story-driven path to enlightenment, is so robust that it makes a person completely undefeated, outmatching even the gods themselves. So what does this all mean for us? What should you take away from this ancient crisis? We saw traditional, slow, rigid education fail entirely. But we also saw an 80-year-old master recognize that to reach unteachable minds, you have to change the medium, not just the message. He condensed decades of complex statecraft into 5 volumes of engaging stories. I want to leave you with this final thought. When you're faced with a wall of resistance, whether you're trying to learn something complex yourself or trying to communicate a difficult idea to someone else, are you relying on the grueling 12-year path of dry facts, or can you find your own shorter way? How can you use the power of storytelling to conquer your own impossible challenges today? Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. Keep learning and keep looking for the story.